Good Saturday morning, guys. Welcome to Exit Strategies Radio Show. I am your host, Cohen J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful. Working on that. North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to the show, you are in for a treat. Sir, ma'am, whoever you are, you need to strap in and get ready for this ride. Because our mission here is very simple. That is to empower our community, the African-American community, through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We are legacy building. That is what we do. That is what we are doing. Yes, yes. So, guys, look here, when you're out there making those things happen, when you're doing the things not just for you today, but for your children and their children yet to come, I want you to put a hashtag on social media, because y'all like to show off now. I need you to put a hashtag on that thing. They say legacy building, because that is what you are doing. All right, and all right. So, guys, look, I've been telling you, I've been giving you little tidbits, and I've been teasing y'all the last couple, 2-3 weeks about the lineup that we had in store. So today we are kicking this line up off. So we've been having a lot of conversation within our community. We've been having a lot of conversation for a long time about housing and options, shortage of inventory, affordable housing options, all those kind of things. So I have said, okay, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on having that conversation here, because you, as our listeners, need to be educated on what is available, one, how it becomes available, two, and what you can do in order to help make things happen. All right. So today I have with us, joining us, is none other than my friend, my guy. He is the guy that I call early in the morning when I need a giggle and a laugh to get my day right. This is our friend, because he ain't just mine, he our friend here, guys. I got Fred F.A., and F.A. is for Fixed Assets Johnson with F.A. Johnson Development, joining us today. How you doing this morning, F.A.?
Doing well. It's a good Saturday morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. I thank you for having me and look forward to the conversation, because, again,
Awesome.
we need to educate and empower.
There we go. Now, look here. Now, me and F.A. go way back, so we get to cutting up on this radio show. I need y'all to let us be for a little bit. I don't need y'all to beat us up too bad about it, because sometimes he and I will just get right on into it and just have us a good old time all by our lonesome. But F.A., you're here today because, one, you're a fixed asset. There you go, F.A., a fixed asset in the affordable housing conversation and in the affordable housing community, as far as development of affordable units and things of that nature. So you wear a number of hats, and if you don't mind, if you just want to give an introduction to our listeners and tell them what you do and who you do it with and for, and let's kind of pick up and go from there.
Sure, Corn. I appreciate that. Certainly when it comes to real estate, people understand that, there's a contractor out there that builds it and puts it on the ground. And there's the real estate agents that are out there that are selling and brokering the transactions to bring buyers and sellers together to get these units on the ground. But somebody's got to arrange the financing. Somebody's got to apply to the city to get the ability, we call it entitlement and zoning approvals, in order to get these projects on the ground. And that's the development process. That's really, development sounds cute and sexy, but really we're talking about how do you get your bricks and mortar funded or financed. And so from a housing standpoint, that's really what we focus on when it comes to community development, is how do we get for sale projects on the ground? How do we get rental projects on the ground? Not everybody's ready to buy. We recognize that, but everybody deserves safe, decent, affordable, and attainable housing.
Woo! Say that word again.
Affordable and attainable. Yes, indeed. And part of that process is a two-way street. Our city leaders have their responsibilities, but we need to also make sure that folks are positioning themselves to do it, because like any opportunity, you've got to get out, you get yourself ready to take advantage of it. So when those opportunities come, you can move on it. If the credit score is not quite what you need, then is there something I can do in the meantime? And I think a lot of people really underestimate what it really takes to get in a house. And we want to change that. We want folks to realize that the bar is not as high as it seems. And you've heard me say it before. Some folks feel safer renting. I say, you still paying a mortgage. It's just not your mortgage.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So look here, there's this old adage about quote unquote eating the frog. So, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna eat the frog right now and just say this. Because this is a conversation that, as recent as this week I've had a couple of times and just trying to educate people. But as a community, African Americans, we are not taking advantage here locally. Now, I ain't speaking for what may be going on in other cities and other locales, but in our local market here in Charleston, even in other parts, if you will, of the state of South Carolina, we're not taking advantage as African Americans of affordable housing, and we're missing the boat. So, and we're being upset when other people take advantage of homes and houses that are being built. So, FA, again, I work from the retail point. I am the guy that, okay, I got the buyer and here's the product. And you work from, hey, I'm creating a product for this person. So from my position in working with the consumer, I'm gonna say this real quick, and I want your feedback here. But from my point of view, working with the consumer, when I show them and say, okay, this is an affordable house, a house that you can afford, attain, because I like to use attainable housing as well. You can attain this house. They turn their nose up at it. So from your seat, what does that look like? And if you would give and share with our listeners, what it is that goes into, if you don't mind, creating this housing, and most importantly, what's the mission? What is the mission here?
Sure. So, we use this word affordable, and it has a number of different meanings, but just in plain English, like you said, how do we make it to where somebody it's achievable and attainable for someone? So we work through, for example, with entities like the Charleston Redevelopment Corporation, where the mission is to help get those houses in the hands of those consumers by subsidizing the land costs. So if it costs us $210,000 to put this house on the ground, can we sell it at $177,000? Can we absorb some of those costs? And so that's a lot of times what we hear when we start talking about affordability is, can we make it such that we can underwrite these costs in a way to pass those savings on to the consumer, as opposed to a private sector developer who's purely profit driven, that's trying to maximize and squeeze every dollar out of the transaction. We're trying to figure out how to squeeze those dollars out in the sense of getting the price down to where everyone can afford it, or identifying mortgages that have something unique about them that makes it the monthly payment to where it's reasonable for the average person.
And I think one of the things that, and you and I have had this conversation as we've been working together on a number of projects, and I want to make sure we kind of start, dropping and trickling, those projects out that are available currently. But, we talk with and you seek out mortgage bankers or lenders to work with, to partner with on these projects that understand the mission and want to help people, and in turn can offer programs or loan products that fit not only the uniqueness of an affordable housing project, but also the uniqueness of the end consumer for that project, because typically that person may or may not fit, for other housing opportunities. Would you agree?
I do. And I think that there are specific mortgage lenders who understand that everybody doesn't have 10, 8, $5,000 to plop down to buy a house. And so they've devised some of these specific programs where they can get a buyer in without having those upfront resources, and finding out other ways of either applying for down payment assistance or rolling it into as a part of the full financing on the house. So, to be honest with you, it's really the same thing with a mortgage lender as with real estate agents. Not everybody has educated themselves on what some of these different products are and projects and how this is done. So not everybody's going to understand what it is that you're talking about when you go ask about some of these affordable housing programs. So you need to ask, does your agent, does your mortgage broker, are they used to working in this affordable segment?
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that we've been having. So matter of fact, let's start talking about, if you don't mind, some of the projects that you're currently working on. And if you throw any of them out there, I mean, the truth and the reality is that we're getting a lot of questions about it. You're getting direct calls, our office, myself, we're getting a lot of direct communication, but a lot of times, people just don't understand. And it's, we want to make sure that, we get the education out and about the opportunity, but also about, okay, these things, there's a process to it. It's achievable, it's attainable, but there's a process that's going to be slightly different than what you may have went through.
Sure.
So let's talk about, if you don't mind, let's start with 963 Battery.
Sure. 963 Battery Avenue is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. New construction. It's dried in now. The framing just finished. So probably in another 60 days that project will be complete. We meaning the Charleston Redevelopment Corporation, is maintaining the land cost as a part of the project, so that the end sales price to that buyer is much more achievable. Yeah. So we're listing that price, that house, in a way that folks can actually get in there and afford and live in that house and have an asset to pass on to the next generation. Now, in this particular case, working through the Redevelopment Corporation, we're using a land trust model as a way of making that happen, which really means the land trust will continue to own and hold the dirt, but the buyers can buy and sell the house, the structure itself, so that there's still the ability to pass on equity, but at the same to the next generation. But at the same point in time, the Redevelopment Corporation is able to make sure that the next person who buys that house is still affordable. Because what happens is, if we don't put those type of protections in place, it's affordable to one family, then the next family it jumps up to market rate and comes out of the grasp of some people who some modest income individuals.
Now, this project is in the Ashleyville, Maryville area over in West Ashley, correct?
Maryville, Ashleyville, that's correct.
So, for our listeners, guys, and we're not going to drip a lot on price out here, because many of you get hung up on price, to be frank about it, versus cost. I use this analogy, and FA, you may appreciate this, but I use this in conversation with consumers all the time, that oftentimes we get hung up on price, but we don't understand the value or even the cost of a particular thing per se. So, many of you, and some of you may be loyal, diehard, Dodge, you may be loyal, diehard Ford, that fix or repair daily. You may be, in the heavy Chevys, whatever that thing may be. But many of you, if you had the opportunity to drive a Mercedes, a Lexus, or, an Audi or other high-end vehicles per se, for the same monthly payment that, you could get with the Chevy, even though the Mercedes or the other vehicle may cost more, many of you would probably take the Mercedes possibly, barring other stuff. Let's just look at it from that framework. So we have to understand that the cost of a house is different. Price, cost differs. There's fluctuations there. We want to make sure that you all understand that. So if you have interest, one, drive by the location, take a look at the new house being built, a brand new house in West Ashley that you can get for under $300,000. That is impressive. Can't find it. So to be able to do something like that, that is, in my opinion, a grand opportunity for our listeners, and you all should be working to take advantage of that. And we want to make sure that you guys are on the quote unquote the front end, if you will, and able to get to this, prior to the rest of the market realizing what's going on, so to speak. So, guys, we're coming up on our first break. I think this is probably a good time to kind of put a pin in and pause. And when we pick back up, guys, we're going to talk about a few other projects that are currently available. And FA is going to drop out there. We like to put M&Ms out. We ain't gonna call them breadcrumbs or birdseed, because we ain't getting none of that. We gonna use M&Ms as to keep our trail where we're going. But he's gonna drop some M&Ms out there for you guys. Some and in turn let you know about other projects that are coming up here real soon that you might want to be in the know on. All right. So, guys, thank y'all so much for listening to Exit Strategy Radio Show. I want you to put a pin in the flapjack, guys, and we're going to be right back. And we are back, guys. Second segment, Exit Strategies Radio Show. I am your host, Colin J. Millett, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina, guys. This is your first time listening to this show. Y'all ain't see me do that. This show, you are in for a treat, sir or ma'am. So look here. We've had thus far a great conversation. All right. So I'm going to be frank and tell you, if you missed the first segment, one, when we post this, you need to go back and listen to it because you missed some good information. Okay. Number two, we ain't acting up too bad. So we ain't cutting up and we ain't having a good time, but we giving you some good information. So you want to make sure you get it. So we're having a conversation about affordable, attainable housing. And we have with us today none other than my friend, our fair housing, our make that house, get on that property. Did I tell y'all this guy moved a house down the street? I'm going to tell y'all about that in a little bit. But we have none other today with us than Fred F.A. Fixed Assets Johnson with us with Johnson Development Group. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing well, sir. Thank you again. I'm glad to continue the conversation.
Look here, I keep trying to work to improve my hype skills for you, sir. So look here,
I'm my number one hype man now.
Yeah. I'm just gonna travel with you and just do introductions. You know, every time you go on stage, I'll be right there. Yeah. But so for our listeners, we were having this conversation prior to the break. We started talking about specific projects that you're doing, and you're doing these projects in concert with the Charleston Redevelopment Corporation, CRC for short, correct?
That's correct. And we are excited. We have projects coming out of the ground. We've had projects completed. We have some that are in the planning stages, and we have some that are about ready to break ground. So we're excited. Want to make sure folks understand what's available today and what's over the pipeline for the next 12 to 18 months.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what so we talked before the break about 963 Battery Ave over in the Asheville, Maryville area. You guys get a chance, please, our listeners, if you're out tooling around in the car right now, you're close to that area, swing on by there. I want to tell you, look here, FA moved a house for you guys. Look here, he made some stuff happen. That's what he did. But FA, what else do you guys have on tap and in the pipeline?
Sure. There is a lot of activity that the CRC is doing in West Ashley, but I also would encourage, as you said, if you're out and you're in the Rosemont area, up in that side of the city, swing by Bertie Garrett. We have 2321 Bertie Garrett that has literally just finished brand new construction, has some beautiful light fixtures, beautiful color, landscaping, all of the above. And most importantly, as we finish this house, we're starting construction right next door on virtually an identical house right next to it. So 2 opportunities right there. Like I said, I try to get away from getting folks thinking about what the actual purchase price is, have a talk with a mortgage lender that really understands the affordable segment, and then they can really talk about what that monthly payment is. Because I'd be willing to bet $10 that the mortgage payment is going to be the same or cheaper than the rent payment. Right now I'm
gonna say less than.
Yeah. So
it
is something that folks can do. But like you said, I think getting out and just going to see it, just what can you do to get ready? Start learning the market, just understanding what's out there and seeing what your interests are. And then that way, when you come and sit down with a real estate agent, you'll be able to say, listen, my family, we need this size, we need 3 bedrooms, we need 2 baths, we need whatever that is. And then we start equating that and then looking at who are the affordable housing providers that are subsidizing the cost to deliver those units within the price bands of what's affordable.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. So guys, look, that's a lot of inventory right there. For those of you who are struggling, maybe trying to find, the right home. And these are great opportunities to get started. Home ownership is not a destination. It is a journey. You know what I'm saying? We oftentimes make it or get in our mind's eye that when we bought a home, then we've made it, so to speak. But it's a journey because, you know, you have to look at this thing as an evolution, not as, you know, not as quote unquote creation. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to get off into the biblical stuff, you know, in regards to that, but we have to look at it, you know, from a standpoint of, okay, when I become a homeowner, I am in the midst of home ownership, and that doesn't mean I'm gonna stay in this one place. There's an opportunity here for you to grow. You know, it's about, you know, FA, you know, studied this, you know, in the first segment. This is about legacy and you know, wealth generation. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing that paying rent somewhere. I mean, FA, you agree?
I do, and I also think that, you know, you're listening. If you're listening to this, it's like, man, you know, yes, it'd be nice to buy a house, but listen, it's true, man. It's fear that keeps us where we are too often, and fear of not knowing. If we can go ahead and step out and have that conversation, you know, I know you have a lot of good folks on your staff that understand and will be able to talk to folks and really understand what their needs are, their concerns, and figure out what is that path for, because it is a journey, you know, and start identifying those things, if there are any barriers. And a lot of times we make more mental barriers that get in our way than the real barriers are out there. So
Mhm.
starting, it starts with a process, it starts with a conversation, and just getting engaged to find out not only what's physically out there, but what does it take for me to get there for myself.
Mhm.
And it's hard. I mean, you know, we've all had stages where I haven't pulled my credit report in 2 years. I'm
Mhm.
afraid to go pull that thing. Well,
Mhm.
let's just look and see what really is there. Let's see if there's some things there. And fortunately, you know, I'm not a mortgage counselor, but you know, a lot of the medical bills and things like that that are out there, you know, some of the mortgage lenders can work around some of those issues and focus on, you know, some of the other consumer items that might be on a report and figure out what they actually need to get qualified. So we want folks to be engaged. You know, coming back to the CRC, you know, yes, we just finished this house on Bertie Garrett. We're getting ready to start another one next door. Like you said, the one on Battery is nearing completion, but we've got another 118 units in the pipeline. In
That's
one
huge.
location, yes, sir, we're getting ready to drop 78 townhouses that will start moving dirt around the end of the year, September, October. And then somewhere around spring, we're going to start on another 40 units, and both of those are in West Ashley area. So,
Awesome.
you know, adding 100 units. And again, you know, now's the time we get ready. You figure out over the next 12 to 18 months, those units coming on the ground, that house can be yours.
Yeah.
You just got to speak it into existence
Mhm.
and start the process now.
Exactly, exactly. Look here, many of you are, you know, this, you know, early in the year, usually first quarter, some people still quote unquote trying to get it together. You know, the word tells us and teaches us to write the vision and make it plain. So some of y'all right now, write down on a piece of paper, I'm gonna buy me a house. You know what I'm
Amen.
saying? I'm, you know, a matter of fact, make it specific. I'm about one of these townhouses that FA talking about, and we ain't even gonna put no price on it because our God is able. You see what I'm saying? We ain't gonna put no price on it. We just gonna write it down. We're gonna buy one of these houses that FA was talking about today. And in turn, it'll come to be. You gotta, but as long as you believe in it. Now, I ain't saying that you gotta just that you gotta do nothing. You know what I'm saying? There gotta be some action. There's gotta be some faith along with that action, obviously. And there has to be belief along with it, because I think sometimes we forget that belief goes with faith, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't, yeah, we forget that, you know what I'm saying? Just because we expect the thing, you know, quote unquote, don't mean that we believe in our expectation. You see what I'm saying? So we gotta believe, we gotta have faith, and we gotta act. So we gotta do all those things in concert in order for a manifestation to happen. So if you want a house to manifest itself in your family, then believe it, have faith in it, and then act towards it, and you can achieve it. Is that fair?
Amen.
Yeah, look, hold, see, there you go, there you go. So let's talk about FA if you could, and you know, we got a few minutes, a couple of minutes for this, but let's talk about, you know, what drives your passion to create affordable housing.
Oh man, that's easy. You know, you hear me all the time talk about on the faith-based side of things, no money, no mission.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, I think that we have to begin with the fact that Ecclesiastes 10:19. You've heard me quote that many a time in reference to recognizing that money is an important element that we have to take into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's nothing like seeing a single mother moving into a house that she then owns with her children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to discriminate. I'm just saying that I'm just emphasizing that across the spectrum, both married couples and single individuals, the full spectrum. And there's something special there. There's something unique about seeing people take those first steps, especially when they weren't sure. I've had people, tell me point blank, man, I thought you were full of it,
Mm-hmm.
but you did it. You got it. You got us here. And that's it. I mean, it's about creating that financial independence and that financial legacy building. I'm fortunate enough that for my name, I'm the second, and my son is the third. And so, I think in terms of what can one generation pass to the next, both name, money, that sort of thing. And the biggest asset that most people are going to touch is their house. That's the starting point. It's home.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I see a single person live in an apartment for 10, 15 years, they could have doggone near paid off a house completely by that time frame for the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of what drives me is, educating and teaching folks. So that is my ministry, is that part of it. If I can make more people to understand and believe from that standpoint, then I have been successful. Because otherwise we stay stagnant. We talk a lot about the economic pieces. Yes, there's social injustice. Yes, there's changing. Yes, there's emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But at the same point in time, we have to do our homework. What can we do to align ourselves to be prosperous? Can we take this bull by the horn and start taking these individual pieces? And homeownership is one piece of that. Learning how to save, learning how to budget, learning how to plan, all of those things become key elements of that. And so I need folks to understand that it is not something that is mystical and aloof. It is obtainable. And we just have to just sit down and have these conversations with the people who can help us get there. Seek wise counsel. So if we can seek out folks who we trust that can walk us through and get us there, then we can get more people in these houses. And quite honestly, there are a number of these projects that we're doing, and the truth of the matter is, people of color, brown, black, what have you, are not necessarily taking advantage of the programs. And it's not because we're not out here trying to get the information out. Maybe some of it's fear, maybe some of it's just a distrust. I'm not really sure, but we need to empower as many people as we can to take advantage of the resources that are there. And there are people at each step of the way who are just committed to the process. The city has housing officers who, their job is to help make sure that people are income qualified, that they go through the process, they get the counseling they need to be successful. So there are people at every step of the way rooting you on. You just got to pick up the phone, take that step, knock on the door, and make it happen.
Good deal. Well, F.A., I appreciate that. For our listeners, that was a word right there, from someone, oftentimes people look at, what I'm doing and think from just one perspective, per se, that, maybe, just maybe, they just in it for what they can get out of it. But to hear it from the person that's working, working through the minutia, through the, legislative, issues and, everything that goes into building a house just in general, but specifically to work through a process with such diligence and such care to make or create housing for those who are, quote unquote, the least of us. That is impressive. I've worked with F.A. for a number of years, and I'm going to toot the horn for a moment here and close us out. But, he's worked on and works with, on projects to create, housing for elderly, for veterans. We've worked together to get a number of veterans off the street and into, quality and affordable housing and things of that nature. It is a mission. It is a work And I appreciate, FA for everything that he has done, everything that he is doing, because there's so many that don't look beyond just today. He looks at tomorrow and how we can empower someone, and help them along their way in life. So for you, our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in today. I know we went a little bit longer than what we typically do, but that's because we had a mission and we had a word for you today. So I want you to continue to tune in, because next week we have some good guests coming up as well. They're not FA Thunder now, but look here, they'll bring a spark. So please, please, please make sure you tune in, guys, as we continue this conversation to empower you, to help you to establish yourself, to help you in your legacy building, in your growth, and your development. Because, guys, you know what I say. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'm going to see you guys out there in them streets.